Decent shoes at all. And being 6 or 7 years old and very straightforward and practical, I said, well, I call it rogue jurisdictions that are hiding places.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to my new shop. I'm just about to get going on the next radio to work on, which you see in front of you here, but I think maybe I should talk a little bit about my new shop here before I get going. Now, it may look like everything is all set up and ready to go, but it certainly isn't. What I've done, what you watched in the first couple minutes of the video, is me basically building this bench. So this is done. This is solid. Yeah, no, believe me, it's solid. And the rest of this, though, I have brought in and set up kind of randomly. And none of this is plugged in. Well, a little bit of it is, so I can get going and get some work done. But most of this equipment's not plugged in, set up in any way. It's just sitting here on my bench, on my shelf. All of it temporary because I know how this goes. It takes a while to kind of sort out where everything should be and how it should be set up. So rather than quickly wire everything together and then discover right away that I really should have the voltmeter over here and the scope over there and all that other stuff, I just have all the equipment set up here. And as I work along, as I need different pieces of equipment, I will check them up at that point and plug them in and get them going. Now, another thing that's a little bit different about this shop from a safety point of view is I'm going to be running this shop entirely isolated from the power company ground. And I'm doing that with a couple of isolation transformers. Now, my last shop, whatever I was working on was isolated, but all the equipment was not. Everything was plugged into a regular outlet, power bar in fact, and grounded. So that gave me a certain amount of safety. I'm going another step further in that direction. In this shop, everything will be plugged into an isolation transformer. I actually have two of them here. Even the computer that I'm using is going to also be plugged into the isolation transformer. And one of the good reasons for doing that is, you notice there's a camera right here, sitting right there. This camera, the shell of this camera, is actually tied back to the brown plug on the computer, and it did give me a couple of exciting moments in my other shop, so that's why it's taped up with blue tape here. So a couple other things too, I haven't set up yet. I haven't set up all the shelves, I haven't arranged all my part boxes, and on and on and on. There's many hours of organizing and the like, and lots more building to go on in here too. Let me just give you a quick tour here. So here's what we got. Look at that, I got a door. My shop has a door, I can't believe it. So I have some shelves in here. Again, this is all just temporarily thrown together in such a way that I can kind of model what it is I really want to do, and I can get working in here too because I enjoy the work. And by working on stuff, I'm going to realize what's really required. Here's my little computer, my microscope just sitting there. And you can just see that I put the larger apparatus up on top, the smaller stuff down below. And look, I've got this shelf just sitting on bricks, which I thought was apropos considering what the walls look like in here. Another thing that's not set up properly is lighting. I just have a big whopper light up here, which will blow my camera away. It's an LED light. I'm switching all my lighting to LED lights. And I just have a little spot going over here. That's it for lighting in here. my last shop, I had a bunch of those spring arm lamps, desk lamps, and I was constantly fiddling around with them, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do in here yet. But I think as I work along, I'll begin to realize what's really really required, not only in terms of lighting and the microphones. I am not using stereo microphone. Well, you know what? This could be in stereo. In fact, I know it's in stereo, but I'm just using the camera microphones, and there's a certain amount of compression in the camera, which causes the sound to not be quite as enjoyable. Now, I didn't swing all the way around because I will show you one similarity between this shop and my last shop. I'll just come a little bit further and peek in there. Oh my God, I'm not far away from the washing machine, but there is a door there. And for those of you who have watched lots of my videos, you've seen over the last few years as I've changed my shop around and rearranged it, and rearranged the lighting, the video equipment, and just pretty much rearranged everything. I think I'm going to go through the same process here. So let's take a look at this radio. Why not? So this is a very early radio. I think it's from the late 1920s. And the power supply, the radio itself, there it is, right here. Okay. And the speaker that came with it. Now, this is by no means the original speaker that goes with this radio. Not at all. So, but that's the radio or the speaker that came with it. Look at that. Somebody's put the proper wire on it with the right little tiny plugs, and this is the kind of wire that you would find. But the speaker itself is in no way. In fact, I don't think this is appropriate at all. I think what's really required here is a 600 ohm speaker. I happen to have one. Now, I'm not the owner of this radio. Someone else owns it, and I believe they've gone out and sourced a proper speaker for it, which they have. I don't have it, but certainly I can get along with whatever's here. Now, I think we're going to start with the power supply here. And as usual, I have not examined this in any kind of depth. You may have seen a video I shot where I struggled away quite a while in order to get this front faceplate off here. Very careful. So the radio is missing its front faceplate, and it's also missing, well, here it is here. It's missing something. What's it missing? Perhaps I'm a little bit confused here, because it has been a while since I've been in the shop. Yeah, right here, it's missing a rheostat here. There's the wires that connect to the rheostat. So this isn't ready to be worked on, turned on, or plugged in, but it can certainly be examined, and I think that's what we should do. But let's take a look at this power supply that's come with it. Now, the big deal in the late 1920s was that radios, you could not plug them in the wall. I think in the late 1920s, a lot of people didn't have any plugs in their walls to plug stuff in. But if you did, you couldn't plug this in unless you couldn't plug the radio in unless you had one of these guys. So this is the big innovation. Wow, it weighs a ton. I imagine it's just full of copper here. And this is the power supply. And you can see it's really very separate from the radio. Once it's in the cabinet, it all makes sense, but outside of the cabinet, it's quite a separate unit, if you like. This would be the rectifier tube here, and you can see all these terminals along here that this big honking cable connects to. Check that out. How's that, eh? How's that compared to a modern USB plug or something like that? So, now, let's just examine this guy. In fact, I'm going to use my my close-up camera, I think I'm going to have to already make a change because that's as far as my camera will come. So let me switch that around and we'll carry on here. Okay, got that straightened out so I have a little better access with this camera. Let's see what's going on with it here. Okay. Now, I think it's on autofocus, so let's see if it gives me a headache here. That's not too bad. So there's the rectifier tube. And there's all those screw connectors I was talking about. Right there. That must be the on-off switch. And it doesn't say on or off on either side, so... Oh, look at that. A little bit of asbestos creeping out there. Yeah, so slow to focus. Let's see if I can get a manual focus going on this guy here. Just bear with me. Okay. Let's take it in pretty close. How about like that? Okay. So here's the cord. Yeah, there's that asbestos. And some kind of a serial number there, I think. And there. So this would have been the latest thing coming out of the various manufacturers of radio. I think when this, and I've forgotten the model number right now, I think when this radio came out, one radio beat it. One radio with a battery eliminator. They like to call these things battery eliminators. One other manufacturer got their radio on the market a few months before this one. You know, it must have been a crazy time back then. The radio technology was flying forward. People were getting radios for the first time, getting electricity for the first time. Must have been very exciting. Let's unwrap this cord here. It's extremely flexible. A lot of the times, you know, real old stuff like this, no flexibility. Definitely some wear and tear on it. There we go. I wonder if I could plug this in with no radio connected. I bet you there's no problem with doing that. Okay, that was the thrilling unwrapping. Oh, there's some more stuff written down here. Let's take a look at it. Oh, look. Oh my gosh, look what that switch actually does. 110 volt, 120 volt, 110 volt. Does that really make that much difference? Huh. Cycles, 25 or 60. Boy, that's got me scratching my head, because I think in the late 1920s, all power systems were 25 cycle, and 60 cycle was not even thought of. Input volts, 105 to 125. Primary input amps, 3/4 of an amp max. And I believe on the side there it says UX, it's probably 201, which I think is the designation of this tube right here. I think. Which I don't sometimes it's written right on the base of these older tubes. Oh, there it is. Radiotron. Does that say Westinghouse? What? Can't quite get at it there. Cunningham. Cunningham? Let's pull this out. See what we got here. Why, it's a Cunningham Radiotron. Oh, RCA. So wait a minute. RCA Cunningham, yeah. Huh. Not sure what to make of that. The RCA, of course, was one of the biggest manufacturers. You can see the insides. It looks like a pretty typical, more modern tube. There's no number on here, though. Come on, there must be a number somewhere. Ooh, there it is, number 80. You know, this is all a bit of a mystery here. Number 80, I didn't think those were around at that time. I thought those came in a little later, but I don't know my tube history that well. Okay, somebody made some notes here. This is helpful. 195, 125, 47. What do you do with a 47 volts? 5 volts AC, 2.5 volts AC, 1.5 volts AC. Now these have been put on here really quite recently because it looks like a felt tip pen has been written on with a felt tip pen. And you can see this is a galvanized piece of steel because you can see the zinc crystals on the surface here. Oh, 180 volts written over it with a different kind of pen. Oh, switch? What's that? Ground. Well, they don't, you know what, they don't line up with the terminals. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 terminals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That didn't work out. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ah. just to make it a little more difficult, I think. So I think this great big cable here. We'll just compare it. Uh-oh, I think I see something already. Oh no, this isn't going to be good either. So if I start this end, these two are just airborne here. Whoop, bad camera work. Well, there's one terminal there. Appears to be jeepers. Appears to be I don't know what. Huh. Okay. Now, I go back to this side. You see the red screw head and the red on this whoops, I can't do that, on this connector here. So I'd be willing to bet that simply goes under there, and these last two are just airborne with green color on them. This one's got blue, and I see a bit of blue here. Okay, so, and of course, look, it's got this tie wrap on it. That's not a tie wrap from 1929, that's for sure. So some curious things here with this power supply. A number 80 tube in it that I don't think was around at the time these things were made. Now, you can bet that rectifier tubes and output tubes don't last nearly as long as many other tubes. So it's quite common to find an old radio with the audio output tube and the power supply rectifier tube changed out. It could have been changed out 2 or 3 times. The number 80 tube is based on earlier rectifiers, so perhaps you could just put an 80 in here, and whatever was in here originally, if I'm right, something else, it doesn't really matter. 80 is good enough. It's going to do the trick. So maybe that's a modern, relatively modern number 80. I don't think there's anything underneath here, right? No. Nope. So do we dare plug this thing in? Maybe the first thing plugged in my shop. Now I have hooked up my panel here that I use the dim light. This is my dim light switch arrangement here. I have my name there in case I forget who I am. And there's the light bulb. It's just sitting up here, but it is functional as it is. And the outlet is right here. So wow, that's pretty tempting because it's not too far to get to the plug. And these are the voltage meters I'm using. This one's reading the line voltage in my shop. So it was up around 123 this afternoon, jumping around quite a bit. Right now that would make that out to be 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 18 and a half, 118 and a half volts. But I doubt it's that accurate. And this guy shows 0 because this meter follows what's in the end of this plug. In fact, that is the lead to the meter. So, and I don't have the power turned on to the plug, so the meter says 0. Okay, am I bold enough? Am I bold enough? That's the question here. What could happen that would be so bad? Because I have a dim bulb system, and I have it right now, I'll check it, but I think I just have the 40-watt bulb installed. That's quite a bit of restriction. Let's plug this in. You know what? You know, one of the things I don't have set up in here is my voltmeters. And I just moved to this house a couple months ago, and we still have another 25 or 30 boxes in our garage here. Half of them are related to me in the shop. And in one of those boxes is my voltmeter. Or have I just forgotten what I did with it? Another cool thing here, in my old shop was the shop at my old house. I didn't have a garage, so anything shoppy took place in that shop, and that included sawing pieces of wood and doing all kinds of stuff. Nothing to do with the electronics, just stuff you do around your house. In this house I have a nice garage, and it also has a workbench in it. So all the heavy stuff that was in my old shop is now out in the garage, the heavy tools and things like that. For instance, I don't have a vise in here, a full-size vise in here, as I did in my other shop. So maybe my voltmeter is out there. I think I'll go check. Okay, as luck would have it, I found my voltmeter. There we go. So, what should I do here? What should I be monitoring? I suppose pretty much any one of these voltages that's written on here. So this one indicates this is ground, and 195, that's the highest voltage, 195 DC, right here, right beside the ground terminal. Sounds like a good idea to me. Now, another thing I don't have set up in my shop here yet is my tools. I just have them in a couple containers. And so I got lots and lots to do in the shop. And if you watch my videos regularly, you'll see the shop transform further as I'm using it. Oh my gosh, now what about these? What are these? Well, what are these? What are these? Now it's coming out right back in there. A little hard to see back in here. So I've already learned I need adjustable lights here so I can fire light right into something I need to see. or I'd like to show you. Hey, these are green. Ah, these are painted green, and these are green. So that's why they're laying right here. So why this has been done this way, I don't know. Maybe these have been added in later. I don't know. Look at it. It's got shrink tubing on it here. So yeah, these have definitely been added in later. Much, much later. I mean, shrink tubing is a pretty modern thing. You have to imagine that anything this old has been in numerous shops along the way. This is not the first time somebody with a voltmeter has poked around with this radio, I'm sure. So we have that connected. These are just hanging open. Everything else is open. This switch I should set it 120. I'll set it on the higher side if I'm interpreting this switch right. And I'll set my meter to 200 volts here. Now, I don't really like having this asbestos sitting here. I'm inclined to put some tape over it or something, but I think I'll just leave it alone. And I'll be okay. For now, anyway. Yeah, but we want to see this tube light up. A little bit, anyway. Okay, anything hanging around here that shouldn't be here? No, I think we're ready to go. So, I'm going to put in the power. And now it's a question of turning on the power. Double check and make sure that it's only the 40 watt bulb that's in. 100 is loose. 40's in. Sorry, I think I got right in front of the camera there when I did that. Huh. Now, I think my power switches may not be in the best place, because to reach the panel I have to reach over top of the item I'm working on, and I'd much rather be some distance away from it when I first turn it on. But just more things to think about as I try to map out how this equipment should all be arranged in here. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Okay, now you can see this meter here. This will show you the supply voltage, and this will show you the output, hopefully about 200 volts produced from here. And we should keep our eye on that light up there. I think actually the light is the more interesting thing. It's not this bulb. It's a bulb. It's a bulb that you can see if I just turn this like this. Oh, we won't worry about that now anymore. Here we are. See, exciting things already happening in here. Are we ready? Okay, here we go. Okay, my initial impression, no light up there, full voltage here. These two meters, you can't see the one down below. The line meter and these meters, they don't agree. They're not very accurate. But this one's reading 126. The one below, which I'm sure is more accurate, is 119. The only way this is reading 126 in the outlet is that this thing is drawing no power. Which thing? This thing is drawing no power. Okay, we're off to a good start here at my shop. Yeah, this is right on the money. Nothing working. Now, one reason could be the plug. The plug may not have made contact. So I wiggle it, it might make contact. So I think I'm just going to turn off the power. Wow, that's pretty good. This plug has not been done properly, but it looks okay. Certainly the wires are in there. Okay, that was a coincidental sound. A little pop when I put that in, but it's just wires flopping around. Okay, let's hit it again. Ain't nothing happening. Now, you know, the on-off switch for this radio is not going to be on the power supply. It's going to be on the radio over here. Somewhere. Can you see that? Can you see an on-off switch? Anywhere? On there? Oh yeah. Yeah, here's the on-off switch. Sorry about that noise there. Here's the on-off switch. Well, I'm guessing this is the on-off switch. Well, I'll just turn it on. Right. Okay, so this thing can't be turned on its own. It needs, like, some of these lines must be going over to the switch, and then and this is not in any kind of condition for me to connect it to here with this rheostat missing, and I got to do a careful examination of this one before I do that. So before I make a little mistake here, switch that off, pull this plug. Even though I said everything is isolated in here, there's still lots of ways to get shocks. Just can't get it from a touching the ground and something live. So let's take a closer look at this radio. Wow. Just take a peek under it. See that? Oh, okay. Well, I remember seeing this now. Yes, I remember examining this and seeing all these cracked wires, all just cracked terribly through here. So this guy is looking for a fair bit of work. And I have to be careful. I have one tube kind of laying loose here. It's not plugged in, but I will plug it in now. Fall out. These radios, it's a vintage radio where you see the lineup of tubes like this, are actually in some ways more likely to be operating now than many other much newer radios, say radios out of the 40s and 50s. And part of the reason is there just is not a lot of parts in here. Yeah, all these tubes are subject to failure. A couple capacitors underneath, but unless something bad happens, these coils should be just as good as new. A capacitor is a capacitor. I think somebody's replaced the resistors in here. I think I remember seeing that. It's all coming back to me now because it's been a couple of months. So I think we're stymied at this point on this radio and its power supply until I put the rheostat back on it, and we can go a little further with it. So there we are. There's my first video out of my nice new shop. And I'm looking forward to doing many more in here. So